Welcome to In Your Element, the podcast that unlocks practical wisdom in higher education, where leadership meets real talk. I'm Brendan Henkel, Manager of Solutions Engineering here at Element 451.
And I'm Daniela Norden, Element 451's Director of Customer Success and Engagement. Join us every other Thursday for discussions with everyday heroes using Element 451 in enrollment, marketing, and student success. We'll unlock the practical tips to help you make waves on your campus.
In Your Element is a part of the Enrollify Network, a robust collection of podcasts designed to help higher education professionals like you grow. Explore our other shows at enrollify.org or check out some of my personal favorites linked in the show notes below.
Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the leading AI-powered all-in-one student engagement platform, helping institutions create meaningful, personalized, and engaging interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com.
All right, welcome back to In Your Element. And today I am so super excited for our guests that we have from RIT Certified. We have Kristina Faller, who is the Director of Marketing and Brand Experience, and Nick Ciccarone, the Manager of Data and Systems from RIT Certified. And this is a special one for me because this was one of my very first implementations back whenever I was on the CS team. And I have absolutely just loved being able to work with both Kristina and Nick throughout their time as partners with Element 451. You all were a must add for me. So welcome to the show. How's it going? What's been going on?
Thank you so much, Brendan. And I was just thinking, you are like the midwife for our Element baby that we birthed, really. And
That's
just as
a
we were
good
birthing
analogy.
our AT certified, I mean, honestly, I was just thinking how full circle this is because you really helped us lift what is one of the most important pieces of our tech stack for sure.
I'm honored to do it. I remember when I was first starting here, before I knew artists, he came in and he was like, "Hey, you're gonna do this with me," and I was like, okay. He was like, "It's a big one," and I was like, "Oh, great." And so, but I was so honored to do it, and so excited that I was able to be a part of the special thing that you all were building. And I always have a point of pride. I always talk about you all to other people as great examples of how to use and leverage the platform. So I love that. So Nick, welcome as well. Things been going well with you?
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I think it's been about 2 years, a little over 2 years since we started implementation with Elements. Have definitely grown and expanded since then. Our utilization of the platform, and obviously the platform keeps growing and features keep getting added. So there's always more to learn and always more to do. So it's been a fun, exciting ride, and we're learning every day.
You are always the example I give whenever I'm talking to schools that have a more non-traditional approach whenever they work with, like workforce development and training. And the questions we get a lot of times are, can you do that? And I know you guys are always the institution. I'm like, oh, we have a school that's doing it, and not only doing it, they're doing it great. Either one of you can go in on this, but the challenges that you faced as you were implementing Element 451, the victories you've had, the changes you've seen, and kind of overall, how are you using the platform right now?
Nick and I are a good team because he has that great combination of not only being, a master of technology and data and analytics, but he also really understands the business strategy and how the two come together. And you don't often find that. We're a startup. We launched to the public, I believe, in June of 2022 or one, and two. And we were building, lifting up our AT certified for it was about 12 to 18 months before that we were working with you, Brendan, to start Element. So our AT certified is part of Rochester Institute of Technology, which is a university headquartered in Rochester, New York. And their mission is changing the world through the intersection of technology, art, and design. So they're primarily an undergraduate institution with also around 30-ish master's degrees and also a research institution with PhDs. In their roots, though, when the Rochester Institute of Technology first started, it was very much a marriage of education and industry, and really was serving the regional job economy and employers in terms of what they needed. Since then, it has grown to include research and PhDs, but RIT really saw the tide that was turning and coming in the job economy, which is, degree is still important. There are still job roles that need degrees and employers that, require a degree. But there's this emerging audience that is growing. From the audience's perspective, a degree just isn't necessarily an option, whether they don't want to pursue one or they can't. But they still need, meaningful work and a satisfying income to create a life, right? For them and for their family. And at the same time, employers have found that degree isn't holding sway as much as it once did in terms of
Hmm.
the job requirements for the skills that they're looking for in individuals who
Yep.
come their way. So, thus was born RIT Certified. We are harkening back to RIT's roots, the professional training, workforce education, and community partner and employer partner division of RIT. So, our primary mission is to really serve that audience of people who, again, maybe don't have a degree, aren't seeking a degree, but also we have people take our courses who have master's degrees, but they want to
Yeah.
shift into another role in an industry, like thinking about the emergence of semiconductor microchip fabrication. We serve a national audience, but we very much are focused on the regional job economy of the greater, let's say, Western New York region and Central New York
Mhm.
region. Because if we know if we do it here, we can take that model and do it anywhere. Micron is coming in and to this region and investing billions of dollars to create infrastructure, both physical and people, to work for them in this emerging industry, from entry level jobs up to semiconductor engineers. So, we really train individuals, professionals from all spectrums, from an entry level job to a higher level, say an engineer who already holds a master's degree but wasn't trained in microelectronics, wasn't trained in microchip fabrication, and wants to move into that role because there's so much opportunity and demand. What we are doing, we're a little more nimble than degree in RIT, and we respond to what's happening, to what employers are telling us they need, and what's happening in the job economy. How that translates to why we chose Element 451 for our CRM was that we know that individuals today face up to, as opposed to, a generation ago, individuals today are facing anywhere between 15 to 30 or more job transitions throughout their life
Mm.
cycle of their working life, let's say, or career.
Yeah.
And at each transition, you can bet that they need to add skills to be able to make that transition happen. And so we want to be there for every transition. So we offer courses, non credit, professional training, workforce development courses. We also offer a mastery certificate, that's our credential. But we are really a course driven organization, servicing the needs of the workforce so that they can come in, take a course or two, open enrollment, and then Element 451 is the glue that helps keep us connected with that individual throughout their career to be there when they need us.
Going through a lot of the implementation with you and hearing a lot of the initiatives you're doing, you've used the word marketing engine to describe Element so many times, in how you're engaging with prospects, how you're maintaining that relationship while they're taking courses, but even coming back around to remarket as they have those transitions for opportunities of upskilling. how has the platform kind of transformed marketing strategies specifically, in terms of, being able to nurture and have that lead generation on the front end?
Maybe it's because we do it every day, so I think it's not that, I don't really know how other organizations and universities are using Element, but,
Hey,
I'll
this
talk
is your time to shine. You tell them how you're doing it,
to
and this is where everyone's gonna be like, "That's exactly what we need." So I've done it so many times, to be completely honest with you. I tell them how you're using it, from even tracking activity on website pages and things like that, and they're like, "Oh, wow, you can do that?" So the things that you might are like, "Oh, that's just every day." Of course we can do that. You'd be surprised to know a lot of people need it, but they either don't have the platform to execute it or don't even realize it's something that they should be doing. So, best practices here. Yeah.
Okay, so from a very and I'll let Nick speak because there's a lot that we do. There's a lot that he does in Element that makes all of this happen too. But from I'll talk from the highest level, from the marketing perspective. We are very campaign based. We have both paid and organic campaigns. For our paid campaigns, we heavily use the landing pages, the campaign pages in Element and drive to form completion. We're all about lead generation. We're building our base right now. I love campaign pages. We love the email workflows that happen after someone completes a form. I have a marketing coordinator who works closely with Nick and me, and she sets up all the workflows in Element to make it seem like
Mm.
someone's getting a personal touch after they fill out a form with us. We have a welcome nurture flow that allows us to just, maybe the reality is based on our audience and the job economy and their needs, they might fill out the form and become, get on the RIT certified shortlist, but they might not need anything from us right now. But we want to stay and they might not need, there might not be a course available that they need. They might not need anything, but they're interested. So we want to be able to stay in touch with them throughout their lifetime with us. So, we send out monthly newsletters and product focus to our entire base to let them know of upcoming courses so that they always know the latest and greatest and newest. And then for more specific product, I say product focused, but course or program focused campaigns, that's where we have the targeted nurture flows. You mentioned, activity on the website. That's a huge piece of Element that I'll admit we're not leveraging as much because we're literally building our course and program portfolio. At the same time, we're refreshing our website because we've advanced what our website is saying about us right now. When we get our website updated, we'll be able to really use that feature and element. When someone is browsing on a course or program page, we can immediately, well, we might wait a day or so, but, we can do that follow-up
Right.
Amazonian kind of
That's right.
specialized, individualized follow-up with them to say, we might not say in so many words, "Hey, saw you looking," but, really give that personalized outreach to ultimately drive the conversion, the course enrollment.
And that's such a big piece because you talk about driving students based off of their engagement and putting them at the center of the journey as opposed to having to manually keep track of what's going on, what's happening, but a system that's monitoring with a simple tool like a tracking pixel on a website that sees them land on a certain page, but can then take that information and make it actionable of, okay, this page has to do with this program, has to do with this course. Now we're going to enroll them in this workflow based off of that action. So they don't even have to send in a message in the chat. They don't have to fill out an RFI form and hit submit, right? We know they're interested because they visited that page 3 times today.
Right.
That is the action that's causing them to want to get more information. So I love that. And I think that what a lot of what you all are doing is taking the information that you're gathering from students and putting them into these, we call them segments, right? But
Mhm.
personas based off of interests and things like that. And Nick, I know whenever we were talking, you talked a lot about the use of calculated segments and the way that
Mhm.
you all are using them. If you could go in a little more about that, and tell us kind of the nitty gritty. I love Christina's high level, but as we dive deeper into those things that you're doing, talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, definitely. So I was right about to bring up the personas that we have.
Beautiful.
Again, we're a unique institution maybe among Element customers because we are focused on kind of non-traditional education, not a 2 or 4 year degree necessarily. But part of that is that our audience is so wide. So as Kristina mentioned, you might have someone uh, that maybe is fresh out of high school, but maybe doesn't want to go to college or maybe can't afford college, but still needs some sort of training versus someone that's in mid-career and needs to get a little bit of upskilling to stay relevant or to transition to a new role. So we're marketing depending on the course or program we offer. We might be targeting different segments of the population based on that. And so in Element, we definitely have calculated segments for those specific populations. So we have some custom fields that were created during implementation. Asking, where are you in your career? What are your learning objectives? Are you a veteran? Some questions like that. Um, maybe what's your education history, background, things like that. So we have some of those custom fields that we can use, and it's super helpful to have those custom fields in Element. Just not even have to ask for them during implementation, but we can just implement them whenever we want. If we think there's a really unique data point that could help us capture interesting information about our prospective students to better serve them or to better market to them, we can just implement those as needed. So we have a number of, I think maybe 8 or 10 different personas, which are definitely calculated segments based on some of the fields that a person might fill out. And then once you have that calculated segment, or once a user joins that segment based on a form complete, they're routed into the appropriate workflows. As Kristina mentioned,
Mm.
we have a 3, 4, 5 email nurture welcome flow, and all those emails are specifically targeted based on that population because the information we want to share or the marketing campaigns that we're going to target for an 18-year-old out of college are way different than someone that's 10 years away from retirement but still needs a little bit of upskilling to stay relevant in their role. So calculated segments, custom fields, super, super helpful. Um, Along with, so that's the answer to that question. Back to a question
Yeah.
you may have asked 10 minutes ago about
Yeah.
elements implementation, how our kind of non-traditional education has worked. Um, One thing I'll say is that Element's been super responsive and super helpful, and just willing to work with us with whatever needs to happen. So right now in the data sources, if you're an Element, data and automation, data sources, one of them in there is courses, and I believe our institution was kind of one of the first to have courses really be implemented. The reason that we wanted courses is that so we can market effectively. Kristina mentioned that we have mastery certificates is kind of our main credential. So that might be a collection of 3 or 4, 5, however many non-credit courses that someone could take. But a person can also just take 1 or 2 courses a la carte. So if someone registers for one course and completes one course, but we notice based on the data that's in Element that they're not registered for the second course, we can send out a very specific, very targeted marketing email, a very targeted campaign that says, hey, you completed this course. Great job. You're on your way to improving your career. Here's some other courses that you might be interested in. So the fact that there's so many data points in Element and that Element was able to work with us on that one specific portion, super, super helpful, allows us to be way more targeted in our marketing.
That's awesome. I love to hear that. And you absolutely were the catalyst for us kind of taking a more intentional dive into adding to our library the data architecture, if you will, of adding courses as a data source in there. So, Catalyst, you were that catalyst, but is impacted others that we've talked to. And they're like, oh, this is great that you have this. And
Awesome.
that's, kind of a testament of how agile we are, right? We want to be able to have people that come in that are such a good fit, like you all, for how you're trying to push forward. Because I mean, everything that you've said so far today is spot on. And you can see in where we're going the emergence of the upskilling, the workforce development, not just with you all, but everywhere, right? That is a huge focus, especially with the advances in technology that are coming. Upskilling and training is going to be a huge impact on everyone moving forward. So there's going to be that shift of where, my degree in whatever isn't going to be what gets me the next job, but it's going to be these certificates. It's going to be these badges, these trainings that I've done that show my proficiency in something that has come across in the last few months, as opposed to what I learned 10, 15 years ago. So those people, to your point, Kristina, that have master's degrees, right? They got them who knows how long ago, but it's kind of, what have you done for me lately? What do you know as of recent with as much change that's come across in the industry everywhere? I know we've talked a little bit on some of the projects that you all are doing. One of those being something pertaining to data warehousing. I would love for you to talk a little bit about that initiative, what you're doing there, and connecting systems, and how Element's been helpful in that as you think through it. I know it's probably not fully up and running and all of that, but I know that is something that is top of mind for you all.
You're right. My organization is working on a data warehousing solution. And the point of that is, or why we're doing that. So obviously, Element has internal dashboards and data that we can view, all super helpful. I'll say the data hygiene dashboard that came out somewhat recently has been super helpful because we're non-credit and do things a little differently. Our majors as a data source aren't exactly majors. They're more like interest areas that we market towards, and they might change. They might change a lot depending on what courses or programs we're offering. And so using the data hygiene dashboard, I saw that we had a lot of stale majors that were not being used anymore, that were assigned to a lot of people, which is obviously impacting our marketing flow, right? If people have
Sure.
inactive majors and we're not marketing to them, then that's missing out on a huge segment. So using that dashboard has been super helpful to clean things up and making sure that students are staying in our pipeline. But back to my original point. So Element has a lot of dashboards, which are super helpful to get information about our students and about Element activity. But what we were looking to do is obviously we have a number of other systems as well. So Element is our main CRM, but we also have a student information system. We also have a learning management system, just like all the other universities. And so what we really want is to meld together all the data from all those systems to get a real holistic picture of our students, be able to perform a little more complex analyses. So again, within Element, you can see pages that people have clicked, forms that they've completed, things like that. But how do we connect that with maybe courses that they've registered for or learning outcomes? If a person is more active on certain web pages before registering for a course, does that mean they'll be more likely to be active during a course and therefore lead to higher outcomes? Just one example. So that was the impetus for the data warehousing solution. Element does have or can grant access to a Snowflake data warehouse, which has been super helpful. Element has APIs that you can work with to extract data from the system, which are obviously super helpful, especially if you're trying to do like one-to-one connection of systems. But when we're talking about ingesting large volumes of raw data and being able to integrate that with data from a bunch of other systems, the Snowflake warehouse has been super helpful. You're right, the data warehousing solution is not hasn't been completed yet, but all the information, all the data that we could want for students is in that Snowflake data warehouse. Right now, we're using Microsoft Azure as our kind of main data hub, I guess you can call it, where we're going to be ingesting data from all of our disparate systems and combining them together. And it's super easy to integrate Microsoft Azure with the Snowflake data warehouse. So just perusing it and then starting to integrate that data has been super helpful. We're hoping to have our first phase kind of up and running this summer. And yeah, we're really excited. Element provides a lot of data about the students, and I can imagine the amount of analyses that'll be done afterwards.
Staying on the same topic of projects and unique ways you're using Element is, you're already doing wonders in the non-credit space. I also know that you also are dabbling in also some credit as well, and so I want to kind of dive into that. I know you've use the applications system, or you're working on that in some unique situations as well. And just kind of talk about some of those. Whenever we had our last conversation, hearing some of those was kind of like aha and light bulb moments for me for how people can get creative, right? I know that you can look at a system, and even to the point that you were saying, Nick, of our majors, right? Majors, they're not majors, right? But you can still use that data source in a way that fits your institution. And same thing with the way that you're using kind of like the application portals, things like that. So, talk a little bit about more of those endeavors as you continue to build out not only the non credit portion, but also the credit, and kind of how you're using Element in those unique ways.
So, from my perspective, we were granted funding from the NSA to provide full funding for individuals in certain traditionally marginalized populations for training in information technology and cybersecurity. So it's non-credit training, but there's, according to the grant and the funding from the NSA, there was, boxes that needed to be checked to see if they were eligible, and part of that was submitting documentation and a need to send a reminder if someone didn't submit that documentation. And so we dove into the application feature and we haven't used it. And it was honestly, so we put it up within a day. It was so easy to use and looks great. That's what I love about Element. It's a combination of super easy to use and it looks great to the user. Like it looks so slick and so professional. And then on the back end, all those reminders, all of that. Oh, you haven't submitted this yet. That happens without us lifting a finger. So we've used the application feature for that. We're about to use, we are also using it for, and this is a great example. So we offer summer programming for high school students. It's a 1 week residential course that allows them to pursue their passions. And this is where we really align with our IT. Most of the kids who come to our summer, we call it High School Pro Advantage, are also interested in our IT. But our week is about immersing themselves in an industry and a profession, as they're trying to see what they might want to major in when they come to RIT. We also provide a scholarship for that, for which people need to apply. And I will say, last year, we did not use the Element application for that scholarship. Another part of our team was running with that. And, our team has grown even since then. So, but at that time, they just ran with it and did it out of one of our other platforms. And all I heard about was what a pain in the neck it was to try to get that counselor recommendation that they still owed, or, that other recommendation, or, whatever it was. So at the end of the program, we had, I call it a postmortem, but, went well, what we should do differently. And when I heard that, I said, guys, we need to use the Element application next year. It's so simple for that. So we are using it for this year's scholarship because it does all that work for us. And as you mentioned, we are moving into degree. So the university has asked RIT to take on partnerships, work in partnerships with some of the colleges who have master's degree that show great potential for success in the market because their subject matter is so in demand. But really what it is a curriculum reimagination with that college for today's working professional, because that's who is typically seeking a master's degree. So as we go through that, we are now marketing and will eventually be inviting for application for degree programs. So what that looked like recently was we have a few courses in each of these master's degrees that we want to enroll for this fall, which is like tomorrow. So we just immediately put up Element landing pages with these courses, and working with our enrollment management team, they have current applicants, they have current leads for these degrees. So they're emailing on our behalf because that's their audience, but sending these people to our Element landing page, so again, for our form completion, so that then they're in our fold and we can enroll them in these, non-matriculated credit-bearing courses that will count toward their degree as we do this whole curriculum innovation within the degree. So the degree is not launching until probably spring 2025, but we're able to jump on this quickly, and get people enrolled in courses now that will count toward their degree.
See, Kristina, you've been element spoiled because you can say phrases like, "Oh, we threw up some landing pages for these courses really quickly and we pivoted and, have these workflows that are like I don't think for everyone listening out there, that is not a common thing. Being able to throw up a landing page really quickly doesn't happen in most other platforms, and that is the beauty of what we're doing here and the intentionality with what we're doing. We want institutions to be agile like that, ones that are forward thinking, that are making changes, that are wanting to build on it. We want you to have a tool that is not going to hold you back from doing those things, but empower you to do those things. And so that's where the ease of use comes in. That's where the generative AI pieces come in, because that's all what's amplifying your efforts. Now you don't have to worry about, okay, it's going to take us this many weeks or months to build out all these new landing pages. You can focus on all the other initiatives that you have to work on as a part of this launching.
I'll
And
tell you
I think,
something, Brendan. I'm so sorry to interrupt, but you are so right. In working closely with our enrollment management team, it's a huge level of effort from a lot of different people on different teams in their department to send an email, to build
yep,
an email and send it out, let alone a landing page. I mean,
yeah, yeah.
we really are spoiled. You're right.
Yeah. Yeah, I get spoiled too. Like I'll be doing a demo for someone and I'm using Copilot to prompt it to build like a 10 communication marketing campaign workflow. I literally type a question, have it do it, and I get impatient when it takes longer than 4 minutes. And I'm like, well, hold on, wait a minute. This could take people weeks or like a month to get done. And I'm complaining about 5. So we all get spoiled once we get the tools that change our lives. But yeah, it's crazy just hearing you talk so nonchalantly about it. Like I try and like think and hear and listen for those triggers of people that just talk about it in such, it's just like normal now. And I think that that's beautiful. So
And to add on to that, while Element is definitely very agile, mobile, allows you to do a lot really quickly, it does that um, without sacrificing security or user
Mm.
permissions or anything like that. So being a tech guy and caring about
yeah,
security and system administration and things like that, it's super easy to just turn on and turn off certain functionality for specific users. The different roles that exist within the system makes it super, super easy. Even for applications, as Kristina was mentioning earlier, being able to add people to very specific cohorts so that they can only see the applications that they're meant to see. All that to say, ease of use, yes, specifically, and also from a security standpoint as well. Yeah.
this is why I was super excited to have Nick on, because I was like, oh, we're going to be able to get a little bit more in the nitty gritty, a little bit more in the weeds. Thanks for adding that in. I think this will be a praise Nick episode, because one of the things whenever we were thinking about who to have on the show, I spoke with our CS team, and the real one of the catalysts of having you guys on was, Nick from RIT, he is so involved in the Element community. So, for those listening, if you don't know, we have a community of users where all the schools that are partners of Element can get together, collaborate, ask questions, share best practices. And Nick is one of the most active members in those forums, and not for his own gain. He's in there answering questions, giving best practices, giving tips. He's so knowledgeable, not only of like you said, Kristina, from the business perspective of what you should do, but also from the technical perspective. He understands Element so thoroughly. So he's been able to hop in and just be such a resource for those people. And Nick, you don't have to speak too much on this, but like, what's your, you see that, and that's kind of the approach that we want our schools, our partners to take is, let's lift up each other.
Yeah.
um, So I don't know, share your mindset on that.
Sure. First, thank you both. For anyone listening, I'm not looking for another role. I'm very happy at RIT certified and the work that we're doing. Just throwing that out there. Um, that's just kind of part of who I am, just wanting to help others. A lot of people, everyone gets helped along the way to where they are in their current situation. And if I've learned something either independently or learned something from someone else, I want to pay that forward. Not to get too metaphysical, but like humans in general, like we're the top of the food chain and we are where we are because we're collaborative and cooperative and we work together.
Mm.
So I'm gonna continue to live that
Put
legacy.
that
But
into the universe. I love
exactly.
that.
And
Yeah,
also in
for sure.
general, like Element, there's a lot to the platform. Like being someone that's very in the weeds, there's a lot to the platform. I mentioned the data earlier, but there's a lot of different functionalities and features and things that are interconnected. And if you're a couple months out of implementation or even year or years, like you might not have touched certain facets of the platform. And so just being someone that's gotten their hands dirty in a lot of different facets, because that's what I like doing. I like just trying stuff out and see how it works.
I just wanna say I'm relieved Nick is happy and wants to stay with RIT Certified because I don't know what I would do if he left, but I was just gonna say, let's face it too, like, we know teams are strapped for resources, right? Like, teams are getting smaller and leaner, and don't necessarily even have the luxury of time to, go through all the gray element training that exists. So having that circle community is huge. I've reached out there for questions, I'll be looking to see if any partner institutions have any ideas for marketing plans for grad programs because that'll
Mm.
be the area that I'm moving to next. But I also want to call out speaking to not having time, last year, and we're getting ready to do another one, our executive director, Dennis DiLorenzo, was doing a strategic update to the university. So we wanted to use the event module, but for both a virtual option and an in person option. And I just couldn't figure out how to do that. And, so I went through the chat and I chatted back and forth with someone, and I wish I could remember his name now. And he said, "You know what? Let's hop on a Zoom tomorrow morning." And so, that chat turned into a meeting that solved all of my problems. And actually, he came up with a creative, not really workaround, but like a new solution for the problem. And in such, less than 12 hours, I had what I needed.
I love that you brought this up because well, obviously I'm a little biased because I used to be on the CS team. But the way that we approach, being able to help and partner alongside everyone, not just during implementation, but post implementation, and offering so many facets of support between putting all of our partners together, but not leaving it at that, right? There's so many other platforms that are like, oh, here's a forum of other users and FAQ. You can use that. It'll be great. But then you send in an email and you wait a week for a response of, getting action, right? We take the approach of here is your support of the other users, but also here's us. And being able to be there with a live support and be able to talk with someone, again, it speaks to how we want the platform to be used. We don't want the platform that you're using to be a blocker in how you're moving forward and how you're building in it. We want you to be able to have the support you need to move forward on those things. So I love that story. I have to find out who it was that you're talking to and shout them out.
I echo those sentiments also. The live chat is super, super helpful. Whether it's a bug fix, an enhancement that you're looking to implement, or you just don't know how to do something. And also the AI chat assistant within Element is also super helpful. So before you actually get to a live person, the chatbot tries to
Yeah.
see if it can help you. That's super, super helpful and has saved me from having to waste someone else's time for 15 minutes a bunch of times. So super, super helpful. And
Yeah.
it's something you definitely do not get at with other platforms. Like you mentioned, it might take a week for them to get back to you versus 15 minutes in Element, or immediately with the chatbot.
Yeah. And I think it's even if there is a live support option, just your experience, Christina, of, hey, we tried talking back and forth on this in the chat, but it wasn't working, right? So through a Zoom link in, get on a call and get it taken care of. Like, that's what I would expect, right? Whenever I'm reaching, I use DoorDash as an example all the time. They have a terrible experience of being able to help someone if like something's going on with their meal or anything like that, and there's so much frustration with it. But when things go wrong, or even if not go, they don't go wrong, and there's just confusion, who shows up, right? That's the mark of a great company that offers incredible resources for their customers and their partners that they have. So thanks for sharing that story, Kristina. And it brings us to, we have to go through the question of, when are you all in your element? Go one at a time, because I want to hear both, but this is something that we ask on every episode, just knowing, as you're doing what you're doing, the incredible things that are impacting so many people's lives and their careers and what they put out into the world. When are you individually in your element?
Having, the experience of really having like a matter of days to create these landing pages recently for these credit bearing non-matriculated courses, I found myself doing more copywriting than I have been doing in my role. But I started out as a copywriter. I'm a writer. I was an English major. So that is, my jam. And I'll tell you, when I am working on a marketing campaign, the writing is flowing, the headlines, the subheads, which any marketers out there will know are, some of the hardest to do. But when it clicks and it works, that's when I feel like, okay, I'm in the right job. Like, I'm glad I'm doing this. And I get joy and satisfaction from it. And I have to say, the co-pilot was a big help to me on a couple headlines. It wasn't all for me. So it helped me be in my element.
And you're a marketer, right? So these are things you're already good at, and seeing Copilot be able to come alongside and even help you with that. Imagine someone like me. I'm not a marketer, but it's revolutionized. Like, I'm able to put stuff out that is like top notch and look like a much more consummate professional than I really am. So it's been a really nice tool to use and again get spoiled with. So awesome. That's awesome, Christina. Nick, what about you?
At work, outside of work, I'm someone that just likes to, one, learn, and then two, like solve puzzles. Not like puzzles, but like solve problems, you know. So like I'm the kind of guy that, like, if I see something that seems interesting, I'll just go look it up on Wikipedia, and then 30 minutes later I'm like 10 articles deep just looking at something completely unrelated. Um, how that comes into work and even Element as well. I'm always trying to learn more about the platform, or whatever platform that might be, whether it's Element or anything else. And then along with the problem solving aspect of just how can I use this new knowledge and how can we better serve our students and prospective students. I worked in finance before this and transitioned into higher education and into this organization specifically, just because of the impact that it can have on so many lives, and just trying to utilize my ability to learn more and to solve problems to help, to really just help them improve their lives, put out the programs that can get them that next job that might get someone from food scarcity into more steady food, more steady employment. So that's when I would say I'm in my element, when I'm learning and solving problems.
Yeah, one of my biggest pieces of advice that I give people, or they're like, "Man, I don't know what to do." Like, maybe they lost their job, or maybe they've been stagnant in what they've been doing for so long. I'm like, my question to ask them is, "How curious have you been?" Curiosity is so much. We've talked about catalysts a few times on here. But it's a catalyst to greatness, and it's a catalyst to making an impact. And so, hearing that you've taken and you've channeled that curiosity that you have to help people, oh, it's so inspiring. That's so huge. I love that, man. This has been great. I could go on and talk with you all for another hour, but we'll go ahead and we'll wrap it up here. But thank you so much for joining me, for coming in here, because what you all are doing, as much as it probably seems like the normal everyday day to day, you're making an impact. And being able to share what you're doing and how you're doing it with others is going to help others make an impact. It's that mindset that Nick takes into the Element Circle every day, of sharing best practices and tips, and kind of like spreading that radius of greatness that you're putting out there. So thank you for joining me. It has been a pleasure having you. And I can't wait to share. Wait, are both of you going to be at Engage? this year?
We haven't made any distinctive plans this year, but I can say the virtual option was super helpful last year as well for those people that can't make it for whatever reason.
To be determined. We're working out schedules. So
Okay. All right.
hopefully,
Well,
fingers
listen,
crossed.
I'm gonna be pressuring you to come. It's not gonna be an engage if you're not there, Kristina. So there's
Aw.
gonna be some pressure coming down from me to make sure that y'all are there.
I
So
mean,
no,
it
just
is
kidding.
such a great conference because it's full of actual, like, in-depth learning, and, like, you really do take away things that you can use in your job when you get back to your
Yeah.
desk, and it's inspirational, and you always have great speakers. It's a great event.
I'm looking forward to it. It's like my event of the year. So super excited for that. Super excited that I got to talk with you all today to start my day off and my week off. Again, thank you. Have a good one, and we will talk to you all soon.
Thanks a lot.
Bye, everyone.
In Your Element is part of the Enrollify podcast network. If you like this podcast, chances are you'll like other Enrollify shows too.
Our podcast network is growing by the month, and we've got a plethora of marketing, enrollment, and higher ed technology shows that are jam-packed with stories, ideas, and frameworks, all designed to empower you to be a better higher ed professional.
Our shows help higher ed marketers and enrollment professionals find their next big idea and feature a selection of the industry's best as your hosts. Learn from Mallory Wilsey, Artis Kadu, Maya Demishkovich, and so many other of your favorite leaders in higher ed.
Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the leading AI-powered, all-in-one student engagement platform, helping institutions create meaningful, personalized, and engaging interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com.